What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Uber Studios. I'm your host, as always, Uber Mormon. We're quickly losing light today. My studio is lit by a big window, and I'm going to try and make this very fast. I am doing a video that is currently outside of the Book of Mormon series. What do I want to say about this video? It's a doozy. It's really fascinating. It's really fun. It has way less attention than it should have. It's earth-shattering, in my opinion, and that's why I'm talking about it today. I found it on Vimeo while I was in the rabbit hole researching another video, and I thought this right here deserves its own thing. Today's episode is sponsored by whiskey, which I have with me right now, and is awesome, and is very healthy. So healthy for you. Why am I focusing so heavily on the Book of Mormon? 3 reasons. It was the biggest thing for me to get over. Jeff Holland is not wrong when he says when you are leaving the church, you have to go over or around or under the Book of Mormon. And the reason that he says that is because the Mormon church positions itself as, look, we think it's true, and if you don't, you're just going to have to prove it. And that's just not the way that it really is. As host members or people who have never been members, it's not our job to prove something false. You cannot prove things false. I'll give you an example. It is intellectually dishonest to say unicorns don't exist, even though most likely unicorns don't exist. The proper way to go about this would be to say, we have yet to discover unicorns in all the places we have looked. And so you can see kind of the difference between those two versions of the same sentence is really just a little bit of intellectual honesty, and also acknowledgement of acknowledging that there are things that we don't know. And sometimes I'll refer to those as the unknown unknowns, but so the church positions itself as, well, we just think it's true. And if you want to leave and you want to say that we're wrong, then that's fine, but you're going to have to prove it to us beyond reasonable doubt, which is impossible to do to somebody who has been set up kind of and conditioned to believe what they are going to believe no matter what. So it's kind of an unfair thing to ask the non-member to do, but that's what they do. So when I was leaving the church, I had to figure out, well, okay, so is the Book of Mormon not true then? And I felt like I had to prove it to myself and to those around me. And I had to excuse myself for having left the church. And that's not the way that it goes. It should be their job to prove that they are right. And I think they've done a very unconvincing job of that so far. However, I know that a lot of people are leaving right now and they're hurting on the inside and they need somebody to help them figure this out, and I think that this video is a really powerful way to do that. So that's the first reason I'm doing this video right now today. The second reason that I'm doing this video today is I kind of want to address the magnitude of the whole keystone of our religion thing, and I kind of want to point out that that is a logical fallacy. So if you've ever been a missionary, or if you know someone who has been a missionary or have been to church, you will know that, and now I'm speaking to ex-missionaries, when you were doing lessons with people, when you were asking them to pray about the Book of Mormon, you would usually say something along these lines, as you're in Moroni 10. If you read this and feel that it's true, that will confirm to you that a whole bunch of other things are true. Joseph Smith was a prophet. He restored the one true church. That church is here today. And that's a logical fallacy. It's called a slippery slope argument. Let me explain. If the Book of Mormon is true, setting aside the fact for a moment that praying about things is not how you discover that they are true, because a lot of people could pray about a lot of books and find out that all of them are true or that none of them are true. And so setting aside for a moment the fact that that's not how you figure out the validity of something, if the Book of Mormon were true and you could test it, that would not automatically mean that Joseph Smith was a prophet, that he restored the one true church, or that that one true church that he restored is still around today. Those are actually three other claims that need to be independently verified. And so that's called a slippery slope argument, right? Well, if this is true, then what's next? This is true, then what's next? This is true, then what's next? So you can see how that goes, right? That's the second reason that I'm doing this video today. And the third reason is going back to the Keystone. Gordon B. Hinckley did say, this is either miraculous or the greatest hoax to ever present itself to mankind. I am paraphrasing, but Gordon B. Hinckley did say that. You know, I want to take him at his word. It's either true or it's a hoax. And I think that we could maybe figure out for ourselves if it's a hoax. So we're going to now jump into this video. It's pretty short. Archaeologists in Jerusalem are going to be asked questions about the Bible and then about the Book of Mormon. And we are going to watch. All right, so without further ado, let's hit play on this bad boy.
Fail the test of containing true history. The most experienced Mormon archaeologist on excavating in Israel is Dr. Jeff Chadwick.
My name is Jeff Chadwick. I am affiliated with Brigham Young University's Jerusalem Center in Jerusalem. I have not found anything in 30 years of archaeology which would make me doubt the narrative in 1st Nephi can be authentically placed in the setting which it claims. Now, I don't deal with ancient America, but as far as Jerusalem, I'm pretty comfortable.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to say a few things off the top here. I'm confused by his logic. In the many years that he's been doing this, he says that he cannot find anything that would disprove the fact that things from 1st Nephi can be placed in this area. Now, that's not how proof works. I think we can all acknowledge that, right, Jeff? That's not how truth works at all. Switch out Book of Mormon and let's implant unicorns, because I love using that example today. Jeff here has not been able to find anything that would disprove the idea that a family of unicorns once gathered their things in Jerusalem and then left Jerusalem. He cannot find evidence that would disprove that. Do you see what the problem is here? What type of evidence would be necessary to prove that Nephi and his family didn't grab their things and leave Jerusalem in 600 BC? I don't know what type of evidence would prove that that didn't happen, because that's not the way that evidence or proof works. So he's setting himself up. Again, remember how we talked about the church puts the onus or the burden of proof on us. He's saying, well, nobody's proved to me that this didn't happen in this area, so I still think that it could have. But then he throws out the caveat, hey man, don't ask me about ancient America. I'm talking about Jerusalem over here. So really weird logical thing going on here. I don't know. Let's continue. This music is excellent. I shouldn't be making fun of this video. I'm so happy this video exists.
The most important tools used in archaeology are ancient texts, which are used by archaeologists to interpret what they find in their excavations.
Ancient texts are crucial to us because basically the human historical record are milestones in history that we can tie to in order to date and also understand the context of the ruins that we're digging. If we didn't have these written records, we would have a lot harder time understanding what it is we find.
So I decided to put the Bible and the Book of Mormon to a simple test in asking archaeologists who excavate in Jerusalem if they use the Bible and the Book of Mormon as tools in their archaeology. So, do you use the Bible as a tool in your archaeology?
The Bible can be illuminated by archaeology. There's no doubt about it.
Did you use the Bible as a tool in your archaeology and your excavations at Jerusalem?
We use the Bible as a tool.
If you're interested in the history of Jerusalem and you want to touch history, to really feel it, to feel the scriptures in your hands, to get dirty from it, this is the place to be.
When you read the Bible and you dig here in Jerusalem, do you find evidence from what you're reading in the text of the Bible?
I do, definitely.
I mean, if you look at the Bible from a faith perspective, obviously it's a great record that builds faith. But if you look at it from a historical record, it's a curated historical object, and it tells a story from a very ancient time, and this is traceable. So of course, anyone digging in the Iron Age in Israel would have reference to the narrative in the Bible.
Okay, so he's mentioning something here that I'm going to address a little bit more fully later. But he, when asked about the Bible, asked the same question that the other guys were asked. He splits himself in two. And he says, from a faith perspective, this is my answer. And then from an archaeologist's perspective, this is my answer. And we're going to talk about this because this is an interesting Mormon phenomenon that I think I may have a theory on.
You ever use the Book of Mormon as a tool in your archaeology?
No, we haven't.
Not even in Jerusalem.
Not even in Jerusalem.
As an Israeli archaeologist, do you use the Book of Mormon as a tool in your archaeology?
The Book of Mormon?
Yes.
I've never read it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you know of any of your colleagues that would use the Book of Mormon as a tool in their archaeology?
I don't know.
Do you know any?
No.
No? Okay. And do you use the Book of Mormon as a tool in your archaeology?
What?
The Book of Mormon, do you use the Book of Mormon as a tool in your archaeology?
Are you joking?
No. Seriously.
No.
Do you use it, not even here in Jerusalem?
No.
When I ask archaeologists that are excavating in Jerusalem if they use the Book of Mormon, I notice they think I'm joking. Do you know
Well,
why?
if they're not Mormons, why would they?
Okay, I know that the camera guy is about to answer this, but I feel like we need a moment to just appreciate this type of like Mormon snark. Well, if they're not Mormons, why would they use the Book of Mormon to excavate? Well, I don't know, because if it says true things in it, then that would be helpful to them, whether they buy the whole Joseph Smith thing or not. In fact, I bet even if they didn't buy the whole Joseph Smith thing, and the Book of Mormon was helpful, they probably would buy the whole Joseph Smith thing. That's why. This is baffling to me, right? This is a smart guy. He's doing complicated work, but this level of thought-stopping cliches being employed here are a little bit sketchy to me, and part of me thinks like there's no way somebody could actually do this, but then I have to remember that I was once this person doing this, right? But it's hard to watch.
Well, I mean, if the Book of Mormon was a historical document,
And you see his
there's not much
smirk
information about
slowly
Jerusalem,
fade.
wouldn't they see it as valuable and use it?
If they had confidence in it, I suppose they would, but they don't have confidence in it, and they don't
Why?
have familiarity with it. Most of the archaeologists that I work with have never even read the book.
Have you?
Okay, so if they had confidence in it, but many of them don't have confidence in it because they haven't read it. Oh, okay. Well, don't you think that they might have read it if it were something that were applicable to their field? I don't know.
You read the Book of Mormon,
Yes, I have.
Oh,
and have you done excavations in Jerusalem?
I have. I'm doing them right now, actually.
oops.
Do you use the Book of Mormon in your archaeology?
No.
Oops.
definitely not.
Do you use the Book of Mormon as a tool in your archaeology?
In this land, generally not.
Oops.
Like the Book of Mormon, for example, as an archaeological tool?
I must say, no. I don't.
Do you know any of
I'm sorry. So after giving like all these weird mental gymnastic loopholes, they're not familiar with it, they don't trust it, well, they're not Mormon, why would they use it? And then, okay, that makes sense, yeah, we buy that. So what you're saying is Brother Jeff, that because these guys don't already buy into it, it's not actually helpful for them, because this is one of those books that you have to already believe to be true in order for it to be true. You know, those kind of books where like it's only true if you think that it's true, like in your imagination, and then you think about it really hard and then it's true. You know, those kinds of books. This is one of those kinds of books. Okay, yeah, no, we get it now. So tell us, Jeff, are you using that kind of book right now in the work that you're doing right now? No.
Your former Israeli colleagues that use the Book of Mormon as in their
I
archaeology?
don't know, it's a good question, I never asked. But we have one who is a volunteer here, you should ask her. It's the Book of Mormon. Any bearing on what you're doing here? Yes or no? Yeah, I was asked, so I'm asking you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, and the fact that it gives me strength to dig.
Okay.
Historically, not as much.
What the hell? Okay, so they've now asked, serendipitously, they have an active LDS member who is working on this dig with them. And he says, I don't know, I've never used the Book of Mormon, but I do have an active Mormon here working with us, so let's go ask her. And what do we see again? The split. Now, maybe I'm crazy, okay, but the split, hear me out here. I fully believe that this is where cognitive dissonance is born. These people, and I was one of these people, and many of you were probably these people. These people are split into their faith halves and their professional halves. And as the faith half grows, they're becoming more virtuous. But their professional half is also growing. And so they're becoming kind of more worldly and secular. And so believing in something that can be proved untrue is actually a virtue in the LDS Church. The more evidence against the thing that you believe in, the more virtuous you are for believing in that thing anyways. And so you see these people growing. These two halves of themselves are actually entirely incompatible. And one day, one of them will pop and the other one will take over entirely. And you end up with less balanced human beings, in my opinion. It takes a lot of work for us, people who have left the church, to be, for me, I'll speak for just me right now. It takes a lot of work for me to be less cold and calculating and logical, and to be a little bit more emotional and feely and accepting of other people's feelings, because that has burned me so bad in the past. And so this is how the LDS Church accidentally creates very, very unhealthy humans living within themselves. And this cognitive dissonance is harming them right now, and it's only going to get worse.
The Jerusalem is mentioned in the Bible and the Book of Mormon. Why don't archaeologists that are digging in Jerusalem use the Book of Mormon as a tool?
Well, when you're dealing with the Mormon faith, it would simply be because they're not familiar with that record. They don't use it. They don't have anything that they've ever compared it to. It's something.
He's talking in circles right now because it's a good question, right? Why aren't they using it? If it's true, why aren't they using it? None of them are using it. Not even this guy is using it. And he's kind of like, I'm trying not to pick on him specifically, but he is a great mouthpiece, and he's kind of like the avatar or like the archetype of that one Mormon who we all know. The truth is, he's saying things that he has no right saying because he's just defending his own beliefs right now. He's not speaking from any sort of logic or authority.
Thing really that only in the LDS community is a part of the religious literature.
If the Book of Mormon really was a historical document from around 600 BC, how valuable would it be to archaeologists?
It would be extremely valuable. We have very limited historical documents from this period, especially about Jerusalem.
In my way of looking at things, the Book of Mormon is something which is quite distant from anything historical.
What does it mean in your mind that no archaeologists or historians that deal with Jerusalem use the Book of Mormon as a historical reference or a tool in archaeology?
It says to me that it's essentially a fiction novel, and the examination of the historical details and what's being excavated confirms that.
There we go. So you heard it here first, guys. The Book of Mormon is essentially a fiction novel. No archaeologists use it when looking at Jerusalem. Not even the BYU guy. Like, end of video. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Now that we've established that this book is a fiction novel, why don't we analyze whether or not it's a good fiction novel? That is what I'm working on at the Book of Mormon series kind of playlist thing going on somewhere on YouTube. And if you're interested in that question, if the Book of Mormon is not if it's true or not, if it's good literature or not, pop over there and let's steelman that argument. Let's talk about it. I hope you all have a great day. Be good to each other. Always recycle, brush your teeth, and yeah, I'll see you next time.